the Abscondo podcast. Hi, welcome back to the Abscondo podcast. This is Mark. I write and talk a lot about the mind, about how to create gaps of thinking, about how to not take your thoughts so seriously and things like this. And I found myself lying awake last night, I guess for a couple hours in the middle of the night, like most of us sometimes do. And my mind was racing. And I was thinking, is this ego? Am I being overtaken by ego? But then I looked within my inner body and I realized that I was actually feeling fine. I was a little bit excited in a good way, but there was no fear. I was thinking about my business. I have a kind of a virtual business where I do a sales agency, and we have about 10 customers at a time, companies that look to us for new sales opportunities. So we run all these sales campaigns. And I was thinking about some ways to scale the business and some systems that would allow me to do less work and to scale the business and things like this. And I got excited about what that meant in my life, about how that frees me up to do other things, more writing, more podcasting, and of course the I Am platform and things like that. And I got excited about it. I was thinking, is it bad that I'm lying here at night awake with these thoughts? And I realized that the mind is an extraordinarily wonderful, powerful, useful tool. Probably for sure, the greatest problem-solving machine that at least humans know of in the universe, right? It's amazing. But sometimes the mind malfunctions. And I believe that a mind that is filled with fear, worries about the future, that's when the mind begins to malfunction. And I want to talk about that a little bit today because, it's one thing, I think I said this in a previous podcast, that this idea of finding inner peace and going on the mountaintop or on the beach, I love going to the beach in the summer. I can spend day after day on a beach, with maybe a book, or just looking at the colors in the water and the sand and listening to the sounds and just feeling the sun on my body, and I feel wonderful. And I can stay in that state, and that's wonderful. But the reality is, in the world we live in, that's not the purpose of our lives, to be in that perfect state of harmony and peace with no challenges. So we're meant to be able to do business, to be able to have jobs or roles, to be a parent, to be to help and serve people. And so we have to get to a place where we reconcile this need for inner peace and positivity with the need to function in the world as it exists. And that's what I'd like to talk about because there are a lot of wonderful spiritual teachers out there. I think people like Eckhart Tolle, probably he's the greatest person alive today. If Jesus were alive today, his name would be Eckhart Tolle. That's what I believe. From following his teachings. But, many of us don't have the luxury of focusing full time on being a writer and a speaker and a spiritual teacher. And I'm not saying that it's not well-deserved. If you do get to that point, that's fantastic, and you've gone through a lot of other life stuff to get there. What I'm saying is, in the meantime, we have responsibilities, we have pressures in life. We worry about money, we worry about our jobs. We try to find some kind of security for our families and some safety in this world and some happiness. And so how do you allow yourself to get into that good place and then take on massive challenges? And I do this every day. I don't think that comes across a lot of times in my writing and in these podcasts and the things I put out there. And I want to talk more about that because that's really the challenge. It's one thing, I can read the most wonderful book and do a meditation and lay in bed, but at some point I have to get up and I have to go to the computer and check my email, and I have to have calls with clients, and I have to, there's failures, there's good months and bad months financially, even though I shouldn't be judging it as good or bad. Losing money usually isn't seen as a good thing, although it can be because it leads to different decisions and different ventures. And that's exactly where I'm going with this. See, so take that example exactly. I think it was back in November, we lost our second best customer. And that meant basically that we'd be operating at a loss for a few months, or at least not bringing in enough income to support our expenses. And rather than dwelling on the fear, what I'm grateful to have been able to do is take that as kind of a kick in the butt that I need to get things going. And now it's like 3 months later, and we have something like 7 or 8 new projects. And I'm expanding into different things and change a lot of things about the business. So it's about, how do you take a reality, not judging it, just accepting it. This happened. The customer is gone. They were acquired by a different company and they're gone, right? So how do you instantly, unemotionally accept that thing happening and then go on with your life in a state of clear thinking? Sometimes when a lot of turmoil is happening, a lot of changes are happening in my life, I do lie awake at night, not every week, certainly not every day, but there are times when there are things going on around me in my world that I need to process and deal with and solve. And that's true of anyone. I mean, that's being alive. We're not here to isolate ourselves into comfort and peace. Eckhart Tolle said in a recent, actually an old interview with Oprah back when he released the book A New Earth, he said that the purpose of life is that consciousness wants to come into the world of form. For whatever reason, the universe wants to gain in consciousness, and the way that it gains is not to stay in that nothingness and that void, the space, the realm where our souls exist, where our true identities exist. It's not just about staying there. It wants to penetrate form. It wants to do the dance of life, and life on Earth is just such a it makes you speechless to think about the complexity and the perfect design of everything working together, and what evolution. Now, what is evolution? Evolution is exactly that: consciousness gaining, growing, learning through this dance of evolution. Everything that exists, from flowers to fish to birds to humans, at one point in the history of this evolution, it was the advance. It was the most advanced thing that happened, at least in this field of awareness called the Earth. And so we're here to deal with the chaos, to make these advances, to deal with things, and to innovate in a way that we bring more consciousness into the realm of form, so that we can then, when we die, go back into that void someday when our life here has run its course. Our spirit goes back into this void and shares that knowledge. It's already sharing that knowledge because we're already connected to the oneness, because we are spirit. We are one. We are one with that energy of love, that universal energy of love, the light. And that's why every single person on the level of spirit, and it's just a word, I could say the soul, I could say, just consciousness or awareness or presence, the observer of the mind, the observer of everything going on around, right? On that level, we're all the same, but we have minds also, and the mind is this amazing tool. So what I came to realize is that as long as we're thinking in a productive way, which means, as you're thinking, how is your inner state? Go into your heart, go into your inner body, notice your emotions. If there's a lot of stress and fear, then your thinking is not very productive. In fact, it's probably damaging. It's causing stress. And stress, of course, causes aging. It causes illness. And it causes bad decisions to be made because you're not thinking clearly. You're more likely to attack someone, to make assumptions. You are going to be very negative and bringing people down. So trying to solve problems from this position of stress and fear makes you desperate and even violent. You might attack someone. You might steal something to solve your problem. And that's not a solution. That only causes more problems. But if you escape the ego, and the ego, of course, is the cause of fear. The emotion of the ego is fear, or the thought process is fear, that I'm this little ego isolated in the universe all by myself, separate from everything and everyone, all of life. And all that matters is me, getting what I need, and my safety and my security and my fame and recognition. and status and all these things. You wouldn't do that if you were aligned with love and escape the ego, because then your concerns have to do with how do you create abundance? How do you serve the most people? How do you stay calm and present? How do you make people's lives better? How do you learn? How do you grow? How do you create beauty and meaning? Mainly, how do you serve? How do you give? How do you accept? And when that's your intention, when the mind sets that as its intention, by following the heart, by following consciousness, not the other way around, then the mind can race, and you can do all kinds of things, and you can work like crazy. You can bang away at the keyboard or the musical instrument, or you can write, or you can talk and speak, and you can create businesses, and you can meet new people and do things together and form partnerships. And that's this amazing dance of consciousness coming into the world of form, bringing its light and its truth and its beauty. So there's nothing wrong with the mind. And it is important that we learn to let go of that steady stream of thinking when it becomes non-productive. When we find out, in fact, that there is some fear within me, I am just worrying about tomorrow, what might happen, that's not useful. But if you're trying to work through, you're trying to create a system, you're trying to solve a real problem, you're doing it unemotionally and calmly, without any clinging or need for a resolution to come immediately, without the belief that you're going to be happy because you solved that problem. And that's a tough one, even for me sometimes. Because of course I'm happy when I succeed at doing something, but not really ultimately, because then that brings more problems, right? You create more complexity when you grow your business, for example. There's a lot of things I want that I know will bring a lot more problems than I have now. And so I want these things not because I think it's going to make me happy. I want these things because I think that's the purpose of my life, and I'm here just to serve consciousness. I'm here to serve love, or to let love be channeled through me. The source of anything good that I do in this world, in this lifetime, is not going to be from me. It's going to be from me stepping out of the way and allowing the energy of love to use this body and mind in the right way. And that's what we're talking about in this modern form of spirituality. I'm not talking about going to the mountaintop. I'm not talking about, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with crystals and gems and superstitious beliefs and rituals and things like this. It can help. But this modern form of spirituality, it's different. It's an awakening. It's a consciousness revolution that's going to be at peace with technology, at peace with human relationships that are global and nonstop and never turn off, at peace with relationships with partners that are unstable, that are open because the communication technologies we have, we can no longer depend on isolating people who we love. We have to let them be free and find a way to do that. So there's all this uncertainty, and it's harder and harder to make a good income. It's more competitive with the global competition. All these reasons the mind says to fear and to feed the body, these toxic emotions and thoughts. And what we're talking about here, and the urgency of this message, is that we're overcoming this. And I don't have all the answers, but I'm on this journey. And the more along these lines I go, the better things work out. And that's just it. Faith in love, not faith in fear, not belief that you can control reality and find happiness in the external form, but the belief and the total faith that love is the answer, no matter what the question, the challenge. And when I say love, the way to experience love is to go into the present moment, let go of the fear or the future and the past, and feel that energy within, that positive energy as you relax and as you look at the beauty around you, the colors, the textures, the sounds, the wind, the trees blowing. And you connect with this source of love within. And you know that that love within is the source of love for you. It doesn't come from someone else outside of you. It comes from within you, through you, so that you love yourself, you feel safe, and you are safe on the level of your true identity, which is consciousness in visible form. And when you align with this and have faith in this, and then allow your sharp mind to do what a sharp mind does, you find your solutions are so different from before. You find that you're able to get things done that would have been very difficult and stressful before, that would have caused a lot of conflict between people, a lot of emotions of up and down. But you find now that you're able to calmly go through your day and get a lot done without stress. And it's not always easy and it's not always perfect. I'm not saying that. Work is work. There are responsibilities. I have a newborn baby. There's work having to do with that, but it's wonderful. And my work sometimes takes 10, 12 hours a day. If things aren't going in the way that they should be, I have to fix some things, and that takes a lot of work. And it's not always wonderful and easy, but it can be calm, and it can be absent of fear, because I know that everything, that the universe is abundant and everything is going to work out in the end if you try your best each day. So that's all there is to it. Try your best, align with love, escape the ego and the illusions of the ego, and life becomes, and what happens is then you align with the purpose of life, which is to bring consciousness into the world. If you're doing that, then the universe conspires with you and aligns with you so that you don't have so many challenges and ups and downs. If you go off course, those challenges that come at you are trying to gently nudge you, or not so gently nudge you, back to the course. And that's why, people that are constantly complaining and constantly labeling everything good and bad and resisting everything and saying no and hiding and, doing all these things that ego does, judging and blaming and shaming, they have more problems because they're out of alignment with reality. When you're aligned with reality and you're doing your best to align with consciousness and love, then what's going to happen, and I can't explain how this happens, but it does, that things work out for you because the universe wants you to be on that course. I will leave it at that. I know I said a lot and I probably raced through some of this, but hey, there's another podcast next week, right? And you can always check out the Abscondo.com blog for these daily teachings. I'm also going to be writing more about business topics and sales in particular. Then aside from just the pure spirituality, I want this to go deeper. And anyway, I'll leave you with a song, and thank you so much. I hope you found some value in this conversation, and I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much.
I never did see when you were riding to me, oh, the way I made those slender fingers move. While I did like your words, what I didn't understand was the distance and why we weren't in the same room. Years have gone by, and I still don't know why you never even once just found the time. Or was it the courage to not be discouraged by, well, the situation of my life? Because everything changed since then. So why am I still not your friend? You called me that day just to toss me away, clinging so tightly to an end. Where is your beginning, or when? Where is your beginning, or when? Please let me see if you ever write back to me. Oh, the way I make those slender fingers move. Or better yet, before I forget, even if you don't, girl, well, you can know that things are cool. Because everything changed since then. So why am I still not your friend? You called me that day just to toss me away, clinging so tightly to an end. Where was your beginning, or when? Where was your beginning, or when? I hope it starts soon, and I'll still be your friend, because everything changed since then.